Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Miracle Network's Sunday Study Group. It's not a Sunday, it's Wednesday. Wednesday meditation. It's great to see you all here. Today we have Keith Kavanagh who will lead us in meditation, and then we'll have 20 minutes of silence. And after that, we'll open it up for sharing, and we end at 10:45. Over to you, Keith.
Hi, Dan. Thanks for having me back amongst you this morning. So, this morning, let's begin this way. At the moment that the separation appeared to happen, it now seemed like consciousness had separated itself from the one beingness of God and Christ as a oneness joined as one. And consciousness then split into the ego and the Holy Spirit. And the ego part of consciousness made a very big deal out of this separation. And it immediately began analyzing it. And as a result of that analysis, it decided it was real. The separation had happened. Heaven was destroyed. It was pulled down. Something awful had happened, something shameful and wicked. And the ego called it sin. And immediately the ego was gripped with a terrible terror of God's inevitable retribution for this rebellion. And the ego went and made a world and shattered itself into gazillions of pieces and hid in the world away from God's wrath. But consciousness also has the Holy Spirit in it. And the Holy Spirit from the very start looked on the error, the separation, and did absolutely nothing. The Holy Spirit part of consciousness remembered oneness and that separateness was impossible. And so by not making the error real, by not insanely, like the ego, taking a mirage seriously and trying to do something about it and mitigate it and escape from it and blame it, the Holy Spirit looked on the mirage knowing it's a mirage. There is no separateness. There is only the oneness joined as one. There is only the one beingness and the one will. And that's what the Holy Spirit part of your mind is still doing. So we have a wrong mind and we have a right mind. The ego and the Holy Spirit, the separate self-identity, and this awareness we are in the Holy Spirit. And they are both concurrently present in your mind. They're just dissociated. So even as the insane part of your mind looks out and sees separateness and makes judgments and saying this part is good and this part is bad, and this part is right and this part is wrong, and this needs to be changed and this doesn't, and I need to cling to this and I need to resist this, even as the insane part of your mind is doing that, the Holy Spirit is in your mind. And it simply shines with the memory of beingness in God. And it looks on separation with no judgment, non-interference. It doesn't resist the error. That would make the error real. So let's take a little reading or two from the course. This is from chapter 11, God or the Ego, and it's section 5, the dynamics of the ego. The ego analyzes. The Holy Spirit accepts. The appreciation of wholeness comes only through acceptance. For to analyze means to break down or to separate out. The attempt to understand totality by breaking it down is clearly the characteristically contradictory approach of the ego to everything. So the ego analyzes and the Holy Spirit accepts. The appreciation of wholeness comes only through acceptance. And what's that saying? is that the reason the Holy Spirit, part of consciousness, shines with the memory of heaven, the memory of God's oneness, the one beingness of heaven. The reason it shines with that is because it does nothing with the error. Nothing. It doesn't make the error real. Let all things be exactly as they are. As the workbook lesson says, it's just an illusion. And by not resisting it or clinging to it or fighting it, by allowing it to be what it is, wholeness is known. So wholeness can only be known through allowing, non-judgment, non-interference, allowing all things to be exactly as they are. This is from chapter 29, section 9, The Forgiving Dream. A dream of judgment came into the mind that God created perfect as himself. And in that dream was heaven changed to hell, and God made enemy unto his Son. How can God's Son awaken from the dream? It is a dream of judgment. So must he judge not, and he will awaken. For the dream will seem to last while he is part of it. So what do we do in the dream? We don't judge. We allow without judgment. And in the allowing, in the cessation of seeking and resisting, in that allowing is wholeness known, the wholeness that you are in the Holy Spirit. The entire course is about you looking on a forgiven world. It doesn't mean anything. It's an illusion. And when you look on it without judgment, without seeking or resisting, the wholeness that you are is known in the Holy Spirit. So that's what I'd like us to keep in mind with today's meditation. And so I'd like you to do this meditation a little bit differently. Give it a go. Normally, in meditation, we're sort of in the driving seat, deciding what we want to do, deciding what's a good state and a bad state. Instead, today, we're going to try and find the quiet center, the Holy Spirit in our mind that's always allowing, that gives no power over illusion, gives no power to illusion. It understands its illusion and it does nothing with it, and therefore shines with wholeness. So this quiet center is a state where we have ceased to try to manipulate our experience in any way. And it's our natural state. As Jesus says, I need do nothing. Let all things be exactly as they are. And so during this morning's meditation, all I want you to do is focus on allowing. And if you notice any way at all coming in of trying to manipulate your experience, trying to be quiet, trying to be peaceful, trying to watch your thoughts, etc., just notice it and let go of the manipulation. All you're going to do for this meditation is notice manipulation, trying to do something, and letting it go. So again, normally you're leading a meditation. The mind is leading the meditation. Breathe this way, sit this way, follow the breath, visualize this, don't do that, do this. Today, we're going to allow all things to be exactly as they are in your mind. And if your mind wanders, you just remind yourself, you allow everything to be as it is. Okay, so you're not driving the bus in this meditation, you are the passenger. Just listen, watch, and see what happens. See what happens in your mind, and your only job is allowing it. So attention may rest on how your body feels. Allow that. It may notice thoughts arising, allow that. It may notice sounds, allow that. It may notice your breathing, allow that. So manipulate nothing. Don't try to do anything or stop anything. All you're going to do is focus on allowing. And each time you notice yourself slipping into manipulation and trying to do something, bring yourself back to allowing. I'll lead you into it. So I'll let you ring your bell, Teresa. So just allow all things to be exactly as they are. And all you're doing is allowing. Remember, you're just the passenger for this. You are the allowing. And if you notice sounds, allow that. If awareness notices your breathing, allow that. If it's noticing thoughts arising, allow them. Allowing. Just notice any manipulation that creeps in and let it go. Don't try to do anything or stop anything that's happening. And don't try to have more of anything happening or less of anything happening. Don't decide anything is good or bad. Allowing. And don't decide anything is helpful or unhelpful. Just allow all things to be exactly as they are. And any time you notice the tendency to manipulate, just let it go. Just allow awareness to move to wherever it wants to go or to rest a while in itself. And don't try to direct that awareness at all. So just let go of control. All you're doing is allowing. There's no trying to hold on to anything or let anything go. Whatever comes, There's no effort to sustain any state or a thought, or any effort to reject any state or any thought. It comes and it lasts for as long as it lasts, and then it passes. And you are allowing it to be what it is. Nothing is held on to, nothing is sought, and nothing is resisted. Let all things be exactly as they are. There's no goal here, but just allowing. And if awareness moves into a relaxed, peaceful state, allow that. And it moves out of that state, allow that. And just allow this allowing to connect you with the allowing of the Holy Spirit that's always here. Anytime your mind wanders, or you find yourself manipulating, just let it go and go back to allowing.
open your eyes and come back into the room. We have 14 minutes left for sharing your reflections and your questions. If you'd like to ask Keith a question or you have a comment, raise your hand and I'll invite you to take yourself off mute. You can also use the electronic hand at the bottom of the screen, and I'll ask you to take yourself off mute. And also, you can put a message in the chat function if you want confidentiality, and I'll read it out. Kirsty, you start.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Keith. I didn't really understand your instructions there, Keith, and I was going to ask you before, but then I thought, well, I won't, because that will kind of interfere with the structure of the session. But I'll ask you now, so that when I go back and do it again, I'll know. When we're obviously the thing is welcoming and allowing, and not controlling the meditation, allowing it to just emerge. But then you're also saying, if you notice this, let it go. So are you just an example for me is when you stop talking, or I went into silence, immediately something arose in my mind to do with what I've been dealing with just before I came on the meditation. It just immediately came up. Now, what was I meant to do with that? Was I meant to let it go, or was I meant to welcome it? That's what I'm not quite sure of.
No, so you were meant to welcome it, Christy, and let go of trying to manipulate it, control it, or get rid of it.
So not let go of it at all. Just literally welcome it.
Allow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because again, we have two minds. We have a wrong mind, which is thoroughly insane and thinks it's a body and that it's separate and that it exists with other bodies in time. So we have that thoroughly insane part of ourselves. But there's this sane mind we have that's just allowing, that does nothing about the illusion. And because it's not making the illusion real, it shines with the wholeness and the memory of the beingness of heaven and God. And so really the course process is that we're bringing the darkness to the light. We're not trying to bring the light to the darkness. We're bringing the darkness to the light, which means we're bringing the wrong mind to the right mind. And all the right mind is doing is allowing with no judgment. And so the right mind is a non-judgmental observer of the wrong mind. And when we align with that allowing, then we look on the wrong mind with no judgment, allowing, non-resistance, non-interference, and the limitations and beliefs of the wrong mind will drown in the allowing. That's really our process in the course, is to look on the error with no judgment and to align ourselves as that which looks, that which doesn't judge. And then we allow the fireworks of the ego to be there until it drowns in the allowing and the non-judgment, which it will. So the sole purpose of the right mind is the undoing of the wrong mind. And it doesn't do that. Love doesn't oppose. It allows. Forgiveness looks and waits and judges not. It looks at the illusion. It doesn't judge it. Doesn't do anything with it. Just looks and waits. And it doesn't judge it. And it's really just waiting for it to dissolve in the allowing and the non-judgment. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So if I find myself, in the middle of a real attack thought, or thinking about something completely irrelevant, like a Netflix I'd seen last week or something, you don't try and interrupt. You just allow yourself to have these inane thoughts. but just become aware of them without judgment. That
Yeah.
you wouldn't try and stop thinking about
No.
a rubbish
No.
documentary, a rubbish Netflix you've seen last week or something.
Yeah, but you see, you're not. Jesus says that you're asked not to judge, and he says, I'm not trying to take a right off you. He's saying, I'm telling you, you can't judge. It's impossible for you to judge. You can only believe the ego's judgments, all of which are false. And so as soon as you're going, that's a bad thought, that's a rubbish documentary, I shouldn't be having this thought, all it means is that you're identified as an ego. And there's an opportunity to slip into the identification of what you are in the Holy Spirit simply by allowing it without judgment, with non-interference. And it will dissolve in the allowing.
Thank you, Keith. You've told me that 1,000 times before. You probably have to tell me another 1,000 before I actually get it. Thank you.
No problem.
Who would like to share? Dennis, take yourself off mute.
Thank you, Keith, for that brilliant exercise. I found I got to the silence earlier, and the silence was louder than anything else. So thank you.
And were you separate from the silence?
Pardon?
Were you separate from the silence?
No, it was.
You were the silence.
Yeah, it was me. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's your right mind. The silence, the allowing, the non-judgment, because all is well, because the separation never happened. Thanks, Dan.
Well, I've done the before you said about this, I've done meditation and all the thoughts coming, and I thought I should be silent. I should, these thoughts are coming in, and I feel guilty about it. I'm not meditating properly, so I'll stop meditating. This time. But this was brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, because we don't mind, because it's not you. It doesn't matter what's happening in your wrong minds, because you're the silence, you're the allowing, you're the stillness. Let me read a quick part from the course here. And this is from, let me see if I can quickly grab it here. Yeah, chapter 18. To do anything involves the body, including controlling your thoughts. And if you recognize you need do nothing, you have withdrawn the body's value from your mind. Here is the quick and open door through which you slip past centuries of effort and escape from time. This is the way in which sin loses all attraction right now, for here is time denied and past and future gone. Who needs do nothing has no need for time. To do nothing is to rest and make a place within you where the activity of the body ceases to demand attention. Into this place, the Holy Spirit comes and there abides. He will remain when you forget, and the body's activities return to occupy your conscious mind. Yet there will always be this place of rest to which you can return, and you will be more aware of this quiet center of the storm than all its raging activity. This quiet center in which you do nothing will remain with you, giving you rest in the midst of every busy doing on which you are sent. For from this center will you be directed how to use the body sinlessly. It is this center from which the body is absent that will keep it so in your awareness of it. So the most powerful practice we can engage in is allowing. If I had to pick one word to say what is the main focus of my spiritual practice, it's allowing. It's allowing the insane mind to do whatever it's doing and allowing it just to drown in the allowing. Thanks, Dan.
Lynn, take yourself off mute.
Just want to say thank you, Keith. That was what you've just read reminded me of, I felt myself kind of drifting in the meditation, but then a thought went, I don't know where my arms are. And it was like a fear. And I just came back into the body. But I think that idea of like drowning, losing, the fear is in losing losing where I was. So but it was very peaceful. So thank you.
And even in our forgiveness practice, all you want to do is allow whatever fear is coming up, allow whatever sadness is coming up, allow whatever anger is coming up. Undue projection. Don't blame the world for doing it to you. It's because you're identifying as this insane mind. And if you just allow it, you join with the Holy Spirit that's always allowing. And in the allowing, it dissolves. Yeah. Thanks, Lynn.
Who would like to share? Norman.
Yes, thank you. You mentioned dissolving. During the meditation, I could see vapors coming off myself, and they looked like ghostly vapors. And I thought, I wonder what they are. But then I was also aware that my legs were crossed and my feet were crossed, and there was a slight pain. And I just ignored it. And eventually it went away. It's still gone away. And it reminded me one time I was camping in the moorlands, and it was so quiet. You could almost hear the silence. Obviously you couldn't hear anything because it was that quiet, but you could really hear the silence. And it was very much like that. And then it changed into like a blue, dark bluish darkness with a red rim around it, but nothing positive about it. And then I realized perhaps that's a nice clean slate again. That was the impression that I got. And it was just allowing. It seems to be the thing that works. Instead of trying to chase it away, and just allow everything to be as it is, and there's no way in itself. And realize it was just that easy. But the practice, of course, might be a different thing, but can't spend my life in meditation as I would like to. So thank you.
Thanks, Norman. I think it's an interesting memory of being somewhere where you can almost hear the silence. And the thing is, the silence is always there as the background. And it's just overshadowed by noise. But the silence is always there in the background. Even in the midst of the noise, there's the silence out of which it arises and into which it dissolves. And that's what our right mind is. It's the silence, aware of the noise of the ego, knowing it's not the noise. It's the stillness, aware of the movement of thoughts and attention, knowing it's not the movement. It's the formlessness, aware of the form and the information, knowing it's not the form. And all we're ever wanting to do is slide back into this right mind. And we do that through allowing. We do that by not resisting the error. We do that by not calling the error evil. We do that by not saying this thing is good and this thing is bad. This thing is right and this thing is wrong. Allowing will always connect you with the Holy Spirit, the peace of allowing, and the wholeness that's there in not resisting illusion. Thanks, Norman.
Thank you.
Okay, we've come to the end of our time together. Thank you, Keith. That was wonderful. And everyone, take yourself off mute. Show your appreciation to Keith.
Thank you, Keith.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Super.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.